All right, so now we're going to get started on our next dish, which is my version of empanadas. I've had empanadas all over the world, even on the side streets of Queens, New York. You know, where you'll find the lady rolling her cart in the morning. She's got the tamale, she's got the empanadas. So I'm real involved in the culture of that type of cuisine. Now, you know, to get started, when we're talking about empanadas and what to do with empanadas, etc., what you can put into it, there's really no rules. I've always found that carnitas, fried pork, actually goes the best with empanadas. But I've even had some really killer, hardcore, you know, vegetable empanadas that have been really off the charts. And, you know, empanadas, when they're done with vegetables, sort of remind me of the samosa, which is like the Indian appetizer, which has got some similar qualities to it as well, but much, much spicier. So we have some ingredients here, and I'd like to walk through what we're going to be using on this particular episode and recipe, because I think it's important that if you want to follow the same taste profile that I'm using, that you use the same products. We're starting with La Morena. We're going to be using some of their jalapenos in this dish as well with the carnitas, which we have here diced and sliced up. Now we got Mother Earth's really good, incredible products here, and what we're going to be using is their red beans over there. We're rehydrating them in water, as you can see, on a slow boil. And we've also reconstituted some of their carrot mixtures as well. Now, I have had things that have been dehydrated. You try to reconstitute them and they just look like a mess. This looks like the real deal. Check them out. Really good product. We're using Solio canola oil. Now, a very good ingredient for frying or just as an additive as well. Check them out. Very clean flavor. Next we're going to be using Eggland's Best Eggs. I like to put a little bit of an egg in my empanada. That's sort of like a Costa Rica thing. At least when the family that I was very close to growing up, they did it like that. So let's get started. So we got a hot pan over here, and we're going to drizzle some oil in there first and foremost. All right, good. What you're never going to do is take any jalapenos and put it in hot oil, otherwise you and everyone around you will be coughing. So we don't want that to happen. However, we will take the onions and the carrots and save the chilies and the jalapenos for absolutely last. Next, we're just going to move that around a little bit just so it kind of picks up the flavor. We're going to add our carnitas in here. Now, when we're making empanadas, or when we're making anything, you can make like a ravioli. It's the same principles apply. The stuffing needs to be somewhat on the thick side and not so much on the runny side, because we don't want it to leak out through the empanada dough that we have here. So it's important that when we're sauteing this, we're not putting a lot of soupy mess in there, not a lot of tomato juice or anything that might water it down and really kill us in the way of when it comes time to fold this thing. So I'm just using the bare bones vegetables here with the carnitas, and I'll show you where we go from there. Now, just to bind it a little bit, I will be adding a little bit of chipotle sauce. And you want to make sure that the carnitas are broken up. I made this last night. I like to take a whole shoulder of pork and braise it in the oven for hours on end until you can pull it apart. Greatest pulled pork you've ever seen. It's a piece of fat there. We don't want that. And as you notice, I'm taking all of my pork and breaking it down. Nice. Voila! Add just a little bit. We're not looking for a lot. Now we'll add our jalapenos and our serranos, because we like it spicy in this piece. Oh, nice. Clean you right up. Beautiful. Now, to help it, we're just going to add a little bit of cheese. We got some things, everything from jack pepper cheese. We got cold blade cheese in there. You can add anything you want. You know, obviously not looking for something that is going to really overpower what we got. I mean, maybe that's my Italian background to add a little bit of cheese in there. All right. So we got it right. Now we're going to add our pan that's going to cook our empanadas. We're not quite there yet. We take our carnitas, take our flavored, and These were actually store-bought because I didn't want to go through the process of really making my own fresh empanada mix, which can be tiresome, but also enjoyable, depending on how much time you have. I don't have much time to make the dough. I'd rather spend it on the delicious filling. Now, you saw how it went down, and it sort of stays in a clump, right? And what we're going to do is, I want to turn this around for you here. Okay, and what you want to do is take a fork and press down the ends here. And that'll ensure that it doesn't open up. Now, all right, perfect. Now, it goes back to what I was telling you before, which you don't want a sloppy, soupy mess, right? Because when you're putting it in your empanada, it's going to leak out. And let's face it, you're not going to fry these one at a time after you make them. You're probably going to let them sit for a little while until you've gotten maybe 20 or 30, and if you're in my house, 50 or 60. So what's going to happen is the more runnier your meat paste or whatever you're going to put in there is actually eventually going to seep through the dough. We got an opening here. That's no good. Yeah, make sure you go through this, really, because this will kill the whole process when we fry it. Make sure that there's no open ends. All right, so we got one. We're going to do the two more here, just so you can kind of get the idea. And I grew up with a lot of friends of mine who are Latin influenced, and just every one of them, their mother was a gourmet cook. I don't know if it's just the luck, but it seems like anybody I ever knew I ever grew up with was just a gourmet cook in their kitchen. So whether it was from India, whether it was from Middle East, from Ireland, you'd walk in the house and I'd get incredible flavors from that particular family, which is really, truly a blessing. So I've gotten such an exposure to different types of cuisine and food and really appreciate it. Not to mention, every culture seems to eat dinner later and earlier. So like my house, the Italian household, was 5 o'clock. But yet I went to my friend's house who was from Ireland, and they would eat so late, they'd eat like 7:30. But yet a friend of mine who was from India, they'd had dinner at 4:30. So it's almost like if I got lucky enough, I'd eat 3 or 4 times before the end of the night. All right, on with the fork again. Now, the fork is not the end-all, mean-all, so definitely follow it through with your fingers because you can't trust the fork all the time. And this isn't traditional empanada dough. I bought this, so even though it said empanada, empanada is empanada when it's made fresh, you know what I mean? All right, we're going to go with one more here. See how the cheese kind of holds it together? And we're going with our last one here. We want a hot pan, but we don't want it smoking hot, so when we put the oil there, we want the insides to get hot with this too. And again with the fork. And they look good. I mean, these are big empanadas. You ever go to the catering halls and you get those empanadas that are just a fried mess? They come frozen and just... I've had some disgusting empanadas in my day too. All right, now we're going down with the oil. This is a really cool olive oil thing, probably the first I've ever seen where you actually twist it up, it pulls out the spout. Pretty cool. Close it back down, twist. I like it. All right, so you must need a hot pan with a high oil cooking point temperature because we're probably at about 500 right now. And it looks like this is only going to give me the option to do 2 at a time, which is fine. Now, you got to kind of watch these things because you don't want them to brown too much to where the inside isn't. I mean, even though we've cooked this well, but let's say, you're serving it to your guests right then and there. You don't want a cold filling, you know what I mean? So let's just take a look at these, and they'll cook pretty quick. If you turn this over, see? It's fast. And one thing I've learned about these things is make sure you're generous with the oil. Definitely. It gives them better flavor. Even throw oil on the top. Looking good. And write in. Let me know what your favorite empanada is. I'd love to hear it. We'll post some recipes online. Give it another couple of seconds. All right, these are looking really good. Another second on the side and we can take it off. nice looking. Okay, we'll take the last one going down. Woo! Looking good, nice and crispy, nice and hot. Just the way I like it. And essentially what you're doing is, never put a raw filling with this particular, recipe. Don't put a raw filling that hasn't been cooked in the dough, because chances are it's not going to be in there too long and you're not going to kill the bacteria. Put something that's cooked in there. And I wouldn't recommend putting something that's piping hot either, like right off the stove, because it will mess around with your closed mixture here. A little more, just a little more. Looking good. All right, just another couple of seconds. We got our beans here. We're almost ready for our eggs. It's almost ready to go. All right, I think we're done. They're finished. All right, now we're going to take our beans, come back over here. We're going to take our eggs. And I love hard-boiled eggs in beans. Gives it a nice flavor. You're going to see what the yolk does to this in a minute. It's going to make a thicker sauce. We're going to give this a spoon. We're almost ready. Looking really good. Egg yolk gives it flavor. It's going to thicken it. Give that another second. And then we're going to add this cheese in there. Perfect. Give this another couple of minutes. That's what I'm talking about. We're going to take our ladle. Thought we'd go with the theme of the show, right? A little colorful stuff. And we just got another couple of seconds for this to get thicker. Raise this fire a bit. We're going to throw the rest of our sliced red pickles and jalapeno. And friends, we are almost ready. Now, typically, you can take these empanadas, break them open, and dip them in some kind of a sauce. Over here, I'm making the sauce itself, layering it down at the bottom of the pan, and putting the empanadas over the top. I may actually cut these empanadas as well. Wow, you heard that crunch? And look what I'm saying. That's beautiful in there. Beautiful flavor. And more importantly, you get that crunch, you get the flavor, and we didn't put sloppy, soupy mess in there. We got everything under control. All right, this is ready to go for sure. Nice and thick. Look at that. That's what I'm thinking. You can eat this by itself. And the eggs really take this to a whole nother level. Next, we're going to take our sliced empanadas, arrange them on a plate. Nice. Here you have it. Incredible looking empanadas made with a sauce that's a bit unusual, but when you try it, you'll love it. Thank you for watching this fun-filled episode of Taste This TV. I'm your host, Chef Joe Ciminera. Remember, there are no rules in cooking. Taste this.